welcome to my heavy armor Magicka Nightblade build for the Summerset patch. I'm calling this build the Blood Knight, so let's go ahead and dive into our gear. We're in 2-piece Valken Scoria, 5-piece Pariah, 5-piece Overwhelming Surge. All of our gear is impenetrable, and we're using tri-stack glyphs on our large pieces, being the head, chest, and legs. Our 5 heavy pieces is our Valken Scoria helm, our cuirass of the Pariah, our greaves of the Pariah, our gauntlets of the Pariah, and our sabatons of the Pariah. Our 1 medium piece is a Valken Scoria shoulder, and our 1 light piece is our overwhelming sash. We're using 2 overwhelming rings. One's enchanted with Magicka recovery, one is enchanted for spell damage, both are triune. And we're using a necklace of the Pariah. It is enchanted with a reduced cost, reduced Magicka spell cost enchantment, and is also triune. We're using an overwhelming Inferno staff with a Berserker enchantment and is Nirnhone. And we're using an overwhelming Restoration staff that is Nirnhone and enchanted with a Crusher enchantment. We're using these sets together because Valken Scoria procs off our dots and opens up a burst opportunity for us onto our target. We're using Pariah because it synergizes so damn well with our vampire passives and our healing words and our large health pool. Really lets our hots heal up. We don't need a burst heal because of how survivable we are when we're at low health. So if somebody goes to burst us, our hots actually have enough time to, heal us back up. Whereas if you're playing like anything less than this, you have to have a burst heal like a Breath of Life, Honor the Dead, or a Rally. And we're using Overwhelming Surge because it's arguably the best light armor damage set in the game. 2 spell damage bonuses and a max Magicka is huge on a 2 through 4 piece. And the 5 piece is fucking outrageous. So what this 5 piece does, every time you upgrade a class ability, you have a 15% chance to proc pretty much a beam of lightning that goes to the closest target to you. Though if he moves farther and another enemy target comes closer, it starts attacking, the new target. And it does 2402 shock damage every second, but it actually does a hell of a lot more than that. It scales with our minor berserk and our destruction staff, which I'm on my restoration staff bar right now. And procs concussion constantly, making our target take 8% more damage from all sources because concussion has minor vulnerability. It makes the set extremely strong. So that number that you see for the set, that 2402, that's about what it hits in Cyrodiil. It's stupid. It blows fucking Slodes out of the water. It also goes through block, roll dodge, and rips Nightblades out of cloak too. So it's our anti-Nightblade tool. It's extremely strong set. I'm amazed that it's not as popular. Alright, so let's go ahead and go over our skills. On our destruction staff bar, we're using Impale, that is our execute, and it's pretty cheap to cast. We're using Merciless Resolve, that's our main burst ability. It's relatively cheap too and gives us minor berserk for 20 seconds, increasing our damage done by 8 seconds. We weave everything, so after doing 5 light attacks, we get our burst tool. Very strong, it's dodgeable, it's blockable, reflectable. So don't get pissed off when it doesn't land on your target. We're using Flame Clench for our CC. It's also a dot that can proc Scoria. It's very expensive. Don't catch yourself spamming it because of that. 3420 Magicka. I mean, the dot's pitiful on it, but it's a great CC. But it's not a hard CC though, so it's blockable and reflectable, so be careful. We're using Swallow Soul as our spammable. 2300 Magicka now that they nerfed the cost of it this patch. That heals us the hell and back over time. It's a great heal. It gives us minor vitality while slotted as well, increasing our healing received by 8%, making us very survivable while we're doing our damage. It's a good ability. It's reflectable though, so be careful with it. We're using Crippling Grasp. That is our main damage over time ability. It's a root and a snare, holding the enemy in place so we can land our light attack weaves. And it helps us proc Scoria. It's a great ability. I mean, just watch out because once again, everything on this boat's fucking reflectable except our Soul Harvest. Which I'll get to that in a second, but our nice snare, root, and damage over time, so good ability. We're using Soul Harvest as our ultimate. It's dirt fucking cheap, but only has a 5-meter range, so be careful with that. And causes our target to take 20% more damage for 6 seconds. It also flips them with Major Defile for them 6 seconds. And while slotted, anytime we kill an enemy, we gain 10 ultimates. This is really nice if we're an IC and we need an ultimate real quick. We can look over and kill 3 skeletons or whatever, and turn around and rip the fucking person chasing you or the group chasing you. And it's a very good ultimate. On our restoration staff bar, we're using degeneration. It's a damage over time and a little heal over time, and it gets us major sorcery. And while active, our light and heavy attacks against the enemy have a 15% chance to heal us for 129% of the damage caused. That'll be even more than that when we're on our front bar that has minor vitality. And it's very cheap too. Tag as many people as you want with it. Second skill is Refreshing Path. It's like a ground-based vigor for Magicka Nightblades pretty much. I mean, it's a damage over time too against any enemies that step into it. It heals our allies that are on the path. Grants us major expedition too, and a nice heal over time. You're going to want to hug your path as much as possible. Our third skill is Healing Word. So when we get low health and we get all of our resistances from being pariah and all of our reduced damage taken from being a vampire, Healing Word synergizes so fucking well, it's unbelievable. We'll get huge bubbles and we're damn near unkillable. But this skill is extremely expensive, so don't find yourself trying to spam it unless you fucking have to. But if you start spamming it, you get down a real slippery slope. The way you want to use the skill is when you get low health, you get bursted by 2 or 3 people at the same time. Pop Healing Word, pop a Dark Cloak, bar swap immediately, you get back on the offensive, get your Swallow Soul hot coming back in. Maybe get some degeneration, heal over times coming back in, your Leeching Strikes heals coming back in. But don't find yourself wanting to spam Healing Word. You'll lose your entire Magicka pool. Next reason, Dark Cloak, 3400 Magicka. It's new this patch, and it is fucking awesome. So it heals us for 32% of our max health over 3.5 seconds. It can crit, and it scales off of our spell crit. And it grants us minor protection for them 3.5 seconds as well, reducing our damage taken by 8%, which stacks with our vampire passive. And our Resto ult, should we have to use our Resto ult. Lastly, we're using Leeching Strikes. Leeching Strikes sustains our stamina pool for us. It's very cheap, and makes it so where we can run Witch Mullers without fearing our stamina pool running out. It also heals us over time with our light attacks, and we can always activate it early to get stamina back if we have to roll dodge and break free and really use up some of our stamina. We can activate it so we don't have to worry about getting CC'd again and not having enough stamina to break free. Also note, our path is our main armor buff. So Nightblades, when they cast a Shadow ability, they get their armor buff based on a period of time, based upon how many heavy armor pieces they're wearing. And since we're in 5 heavy, it's like I think it's exactly the same length as Path, 11.5 seconds, maybe it's 12 seconds, something like that. But yeah, we're using Refreshing Path to also proc our armor buffs. Alright, let's go ahead and go over our champion points. Start off with the Apprentice under the blue tree. We're using 43 into Blessed to increase our healing done by 10%. We're using 28 into Elfborn to increase our healing and damage critical strikes. That is really, like, we only got 38% crit, but even then that's over 1 in 3 attacks that are going to be critically striking our opponent, and 1 in 3 of our hots going to be critically healing us. So it's really important to amp that up. We're using 37 into Elemental Expert to increase all of our damage done by 9%. And we're using 42 into Spell Erosion for 3,500 more Spell Pen, because we don't have shit for Spell Pen on this build. We don't have Major Breach or Minor Breach against our targets, and second, we're not wearing Spinners, and we're not in light armor, so we're really hurting for penetration. And this is where we get our penetration from. Onto the Atronach tree, we're using 9 Staff Expert to increase our weaving damage by 6%. And we're using 51 into Master at Arms to increase our direct damage attacks by 19%. That includes our light attacks too, and our heavy attacks. So. Onto the Ritual, we're using 40 into Thaumaturge, top all of our damage over times. We have a lot of dots on this build, hence why we're using Scoria, and it's going to help increase the damage they do by 16%. Onto the Red Tree. We're using 51 Ironclad to reduce the damage we take from direct attacks by 19%, and we're using 30 into Resistant to up our critical resistance a little bit. The Lady, we're using 51 Thick Skinned to reduce the damage we take by damage over times by 19%. We're using 32 into Hardy to reduce physical damage that we take by 8%. Well, physical, any stamina-based damage. And then we have 27 points into Elemental Defender to reduce our elemental damage by 7%. And magic too as well. And we're running 5 more into Hardy for an extra 1% because we're a Breton. We get an extra 4k spell resistance for free. So we don't need as much reduced elemental damage. Onto the Lord. We're using 31 into Bastion to increase our healing ward by 13. And the way healing ward scales, that 13% winds up being a hell of a lot more than what it says it is. It's pretty stupid how that scales, but yeah, it adds a lot to our survivability. We're using 27 quick recovery to increase our healing received by 7%. And we're using 1 into heavy armor focus at 1 point left, and I cannot finish off a percentage anywhere else. So you're always best off putting it into somewhere where you can either A, finish off a percent, which I could not, B, anywhere you just get the straight return, which heavy armor focus gives us exactly 105 physical resistance, so it's a straight return, so it's not wasted. Onto the green tree. We're using 61 Warlord, 2 into Sprinter, these 2 into Sprinter because I could not finish off a percent anywhere else. So instead of wasting them, I just threw them into Sprint to reduce the cost by 1%. 75 Arcanist, 56 Tenacity. We don't heavy attack often on this build, but when we do, we're making sure we get a hell of a lot of Magicka back because our heavy armor passive gives us 25%, Tenacity gives us 12%, so we're making sure we're getting the Magicka flowing. And we're using 56 into Tumbling. We only have 13.5k of stamina, so we want to make sure we can sustain our stamina pool as well as possible, which we can because of Leeching Strikes. It usually doesn't get overly pressured. And this if I get rooted and have to roll dodge and then break free. And then you gotta be real careful. You get rooted again, just eat the root. So you do not want to roll dodge when it's on when it's double the cost. You'll lose your entire stamina pool before you can even blink. Alright, so let's go ahead and go over our rotation. Start off with Leeching Strikes on our back bar. Bar swap, Merciless Resolve, bar swap back, light attack, regeneration, light attack path, bar swap, light attack grasp, light attack swallow soul, light attack soul harvest, light attack clench, light attack silence. Now when you do that faster, you'll have the Berserker enchantment up, fire the Assassin's Will, and netting it more damage. Alright, I'm going to demonstrate the rotation at full speed. A lot of the times you're going to find your target's going to die on the Assassin's Will, and the impale afterwards will be kind of wasted. It's always nice to make sure they die. So I'm a Breton on this build, but an Argonian can also work, a Dark Elf or a High Elf. They can all work on this, any of the Magicka races, but I'm a Breton just because my character's always been a Breton. Well, we're using the Apprentice Mundus Stone. We're in Stage 3 Vampirism, which you don't want to really drop to Stage 4. We're not stealthing around, we're in heavy armor, so it's kind of useless to us. And we're using Witch Mother's Potent Brew for our food. You can also use Clockwork Citrus Filet though to direct upgrade to it. Just adds 350 something health recovery, if I remember correctly. Now to make our potions, we're using Immovable, Spell Crit, and Restore Magicka potions. To craft these, we use Columbine, Lady Smock, and the Mirror's Rot. Kind of expensive. And then the other potion that we use are mid-fight and long-fight potions. We use Bug Loss and Water Hyacinth with the Lady Smock. And these are going to give us a heal, Magicka, and Major Prophecy. And these are very cheap to make. Thanks for watching my Magicka Nightblade build video. I hope you guys enjoy the Blood Knight. It's a very strong build for solo and small man play. And it's quite enjoyable to 1vx on a Magblade. Not as easy as it is on some of the other classes. But very rewarding to play. And once again, thank you guys very much. If you guys liked it, shoot me a sub, shoot me a like, and I hope to put out more videos soon. It's just been a pain in the ass doing Summerset videos because of all the fucking slowed spam. Like, I dropped Mistform for Dark Cloak because of the slowed spam and the fact that I was still getting snared through Mistform. So, it's been a changing experience this patch for me, needless to say. But thank you guys.